the way it went down and the way the board fell, it was just we were getting depleted. So it was the right thing to do for us. We do a lot of research on team needs and what people need behind us, and including the team that we traded with. So that was a scenario we put together earlier in the day if we got there and we were worried about anybody else coming up to that position. We had something in place with Jacksonville, and it worked out that,
Joe, as it was unfolding today, for maybe right to about pick number 19 or so, it looked like it was kind of playing out well for you, right? Even if you were looking at receivers as well, there was no receivers. How tense does that start to get once it got to like 20, 21, 22?
Yeah, I would say it got pretty tense. I mean, we had a lot of irons in the fire, whether it was moving up, moving back. We had a lot of opportunities to move out of 25 if we would have stayed there. So trying to manage, phone calls with, teams in front of us while also keeping track of, options if we decided to move back. Then the other option was staying, make the pick at 25. So.
It was a TV shot that caught Wink. It looked like he might tackle you when that pick was made. Can you speak to what that was all about?
Well, you guys know Wink's defense and what he likes, and Deontay fits that mold to a T. So yeah, he was ecstatic.
What is it about him specifically that attracts you to him?
Yeah, he's prototype from a size standpoint. He's athletic. He's physical. He can run. He ran 4.32 at the combine. He's got arm length, big hands. He's been a 4-year starter. He was hurt a year ago, but he's played a lot of ball there at Maryland. And schematically, he's a good fit. And we spent a lot of time with him. We met with him at the combine. He's a guy that we went down to the pro day, and we spent a good amount of time with him. We felt comfortable with him.
Were you surprised? You mentioned you worried about, concerned about teams maybe jumping in front of you. Perhaps needed like a corner could take this guy, right? Did you think Jacksonville could be? Maybe they could.
Yeah, if you look at a lot of the mocks, and just like you guys track the 30 visits, we track the 30 visits, and the reality is, the last 4 or 5 teams in a line there, when things looked like they were lining up for us, he visited a lot of those places. So you take a lot of that into account. Risk versus reward. Didn't want to get greedy. Just wanted to say, hey, this is a player we like, we covet. Don't get cute. Let's just take him, and we'll move on to day 2 of the draft.
Joe, when the receivers started, there were none, right, for a long time, and then bang, 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 bang. How much did that affect this pick here?
You mean that the receivers started to go?
Yeah, it was like 4 in a row, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean that was part of it. I mean there were some receivers that were going off the board, and then some of the corners. I mean typically there's a lot of corners that go, and once Gonzalez went, we were wondering what was going to happen next, and Forbes went. So again, Banks is a guy that we liked, we spent a lot of time with, and we're ecstatic to get him.
Joe, you've talked a lot about the positional value stuff and just knowing premium spots. And were you kind of locked into a couple different positions in that spot? I mean, obviously wide receiver and corner. How important was that for you, knowing in that spot that you wanted to take a premium pick rather than lean towards a perceived need in another area? Yeah,
in an ideal world, that's how that works out. What on the open market, these players are getting at their position, and some of the positions continue to ascend up. Some have went the other way, but corner's one that's I think going to continue to ascend, and you take that into account. But when you're picking at 25, we had multiple positions, and again, it may not be a popular first round position, but they're best player available, and we were prepared in different situations, scenarios that we went through that we would take one of those players.
You said you met with him at the combine. Obviously, he flashed a lot on the field at the combine and in the drills. What do you remember about the meeting? What stood out to you there?
Yeah, just personality. He's a personable individual. Football intellect was good. Very good understanding of their defense. Made a good first impression at the combine. And I'll give our scouts credit. He was hurt in 2021, and one of our guys was in there in August, and he wasn't really on our radar because he didn't play a lot in 2021. So, our scouts were on him early, so he's somebody that we were able to get out and see, and we had several looks throughout the fall, live looks, whether it was at the school, games, or at practice. So, we had very good coverage on him.
Brian, how much last year, as the whole season went on, did you get a sense that cornerback, you had some guys hurt, Adoree got hurt a little bit, you know, that was a position that you had to just kind of manufacture things there.
Well, I think you can never have enough good corners. This is a passing league. I'd say we have a tough division. And Tay, he's a tall, lengthy, press, man-to-man corner who we had graded high, and happy we have him.
Joe, you were talking about how the variables were a lot different than last year, and you kind of knew it was a handful of guys. Like, was this like something you expected he'd be there? Were you surprised? Like, did you think about moving up sooner when you saw him maybe falling further than any projections?
Yeah, we had a group of players that ended up being in the same range. Again, all the mocks, if it's a player you covet, you naturally think everybody else may too. So, a lot of mock drafts, guys are gone, and we went through different scenarios, and it played out pretty darn close to some of the scenarios that we went through. So we weren't sure he'd be there, and we also were surprised maybe a couple other players were still available as the draft went on. So, yeah, you try to go through as many of those scenarios as you can, and you make the phone calls with the other general managers throughout the league, and you have good dialogue and conversations where if you get on the clock and there's an opportunity. Again, I had talked to Trent Balky down in Jacksonville earlier today and said, hey, I don't know if there may be a scenario where I'm worried about somebody coming behind us to this position. Would you be open to it? These would be the parameters, and then, we stayed in communication throughout the draft, so.
Brian, is this guy a cover corner, or is he a press guy, or what?
Yeah, he's played a lot of press man-to-man. Again, we play a variety of defenses, with our system, but, he's played a heavy amount of man-to-man coverage and press, and he's strong. He's got good length. He's got good quickness, good speed. And now we'll throw him in the mix with our guys, and good to have him.
The knock that people seem to have on him was the lack of interceptions. What did you guys make? What did you make of that, if anything?
You want to talk about playing that coverage sometime?
Yeah, I just look, he was around the ball quite a bit. There was a lot of pass breakups. He can match receivers. Again, it's new for all these young guys coming in, but I think he's a good player. I'm glad we got him.
Do you think he's ready to come in and be a year one starter?
Yeah, well, we got a lot of work to do. So, with us, everybody's got to earn their role. Come in and throw him in the mix. Again, we think he's a good player. Obviously, we drafted him in the first round, but everybody here has to earn their role and come in there and compete.
Not too long ago in this league, it was the idea of rookie corners weren't able to come in and make that impact unless they were really that elite guy. Did what happened last year in the league with guys coming in like Sauce and some other guys change maybe the way you think corners can transition maybe a little quicker than they have in the past?
Yeah, that's one of the hardest positions in football to play. You're moving backwards, away from the ball, trying to cover elite athletes. So it's one of the most difficult, positions, I think, in the NFL. But like Dave said, everybody's going to come and compete. Nobody's going to be given anything. So he's going to have to come in and earn his stripes. And, he's got a lot to learn, in terms of scheme and our defense. So looking forward to getting him here and getting to work. All right. Thanks, Dan.
Can I just ask you one more? Does trading the picks make it less likely, or your want to of maybe trading up in the second or third round because now you do have some little less draft capital?
Nah, I'll still go up.